Hola, colegas. Well, now that we know we'll be online for the entire semester, I thought I would share some more tools with you, some more free tools that you can use, particularly for being able to assess your students' oral skills, not in an individual recording kind of way, but in either a paired recording or a group discussion context if you want to incorporate those into your remaining classes. And then also to share with you some teaching tools that are free to utilize. But first of all, I want to point out there are some things that I taught in the previous videos that I did I guess about a week and a half ago on how to use the Supersite's tools. So if you have not watched those already, in the Supersite, of course, we have access to individual recording activities, also to individual recording assessments, like the repaso oral, and you can create your own. So in that video, I showed how to do that. Also virtual chats, if you've never experienced those before, that's a great starting point for oral assessment. Live chat, I talked about that feature, which is sort of like an instant messaging tool that provides text, video, and audio capability. And the forums, the audio forums, they can be used as text forums, but they're more beneficial, I think, as audio forums. Now, those are all asynchronous. Those are all one student at a time kinds of resources. So I did want to point out a couple things before we start. I know that one concern is that there are so many people in each household using perhaps the only laptop or the only computer that there's a concern now about that. Fortunately, the Supersite went to a mobile-friendly platform very recently. So except for just a few things, almost everything on the Supersite is mobile-friendly. So if the student does need to use a tablet or a phone, it should be fine. Also, I was thinking about how even though our online students have easy internet access for the most part, there could be some face-to-face students who don't need to go online quite as often and who are relying on the campus Wi-Fi or on library Wi-Fi's, and a lot of the public libraries are now closed. So I found this great resource that the president sent out, Becker, sent out to the students, but we know how few of them check their student.gsu.edu email addresses. So I'm hoping that maybe you can share this with your students. And it talks about free ways to access the internet. There are a couple of companies that are actually offering free 60-day internet access programs. So Comcast and Charter are providing free access for 2 months for all students, not just college students, so K through 12 and college. So I thought that was a great way for them to spread the love during this season, let's call it a season, and hopefully the students will be able to get online even if they don't normally have internet access at home. Also on this particular page, the student can fill out a form if they're having issues to be able to get help from the college. So provide that link to your students. And I also wanted to showcase, sort of do a show and tell for certain features in this video. So there are some free student communication tools and free ways that you can assess them speaking either to one another or to you or in groups. Or at least speaking in such a way that it's more appealing and engaging. So first, in the Supersite, I wanted to show you the partner chats. And the way that you find a partner chat is to go into the activities and to look for the little icon, like this icon here shows one person shaded and one not. So that's a virtual chat where the student speaks with the pre-recorded video, which they can manually advance now, but that's not a partner chat, that's a virtual chat. Now the other kind is where the student will actually have a conversation with another student. So here's an example of one. So it's showing both figures shaded. And for this activity, they would connect to another person in the class. So they can see who's online. They can connect to a student by clicking on that person's name. They can test a connection. I'm not going to run the test because it will disable my video that I'm doing with my screen capture, but it's a very quick little test, and then they can even chat with that person before they begin. The activity has sometimes a visual prompt, sometimes some information. The instructions are at the top, and there's any number of these in each lesson. So the tech part is very easy for the students to navigate. They can use a webcam, they can use a microphone only. From your perspective, it would require a little bit of coordination because they do need to find a partner in advance. So it does work well to pre-partner them, and you just assign the partners and send an email in iCollege saying, who's going to partner with whom. Just one big long email to the class, but listing out partners in pairs. That usually works well. You could create a written discussion board in iCollege asking for them to look for someone with similar availability. Of course, availability is not the primary issue nowadays. So, but that's just, a little tip for you. If you're interested in using partner chats and you never have before, I do have instructional videos and notes for students if you would like for me to send those to you. From a grading perspective, it's very easy because you receive just one submission per 2 students, and you can watch the video one time and grade those 2 students separately. So it's an easy thing to grade, and that gets them speaking to each other. So that's a great little tool that you can utilize. And again, that's inside of the Supersite. If you do want more information for your students, just let me know and I'll send you some resources. I'm including the platforms to conduct webinars in case you want to have group discussions. The college uses WebEx. There's also Zoom and Skype, both of which allow multiple users and allow you to record, which is very helpful for grading oral skills. So if you want to have a group discussion, I would recommend one of these 3. If you have never used WebEx before, I don't recommend that you start using it now. But if you've used it, for example, let's say that you've participated in a meeting and you have a WebEx room, you're familiar enough with it and you want to try it with your students, and perhaps you just don't know how to tell your students to be ready to use WebEx, here's a link for your students that they can utilize in order to download what they need on their end to use WebEx. So here that is. They can either download the desktop app or download the mobile app. There's a Chrome extension. The rest they don't even need. That's really for people who are scheduling WebEx. So just a quick little download for what they need, and they're good to go. So again, I don't recommend that you start using it now, but if you are comfortable with it and want to use it and just need to let your students know how to be ready, that's what you can utilize. It is good because they can simply call in if they don't have a webcam, or if their mic is not cooperative, or if they can't even get in the room. They can simply call in with a phone. But again, it's a bit of a learning curve. Now, I've experienced Zoom from both a host perspective and a participant perspective, and I would say it's probably the easiest platform to learn if you don't know how to use any of these. So Zoom.us is a free webinar platform, and my daughter is actually using that with some of her classes these days. Skype is another one, and I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with Skype. Maybe you've just chatted one way with one other person, or 2-way rather, but you can use it for group discussions and to record as well. Now with Skype and Zoom, I'll mention that because of the high demand, that the phone service, like where you could get a call-in number, may not be as reliable right now because so many people are using these services. So you might have to rely on everyone using computer audio and mics or webcams. So just keep that in mind. But those are great ways to get together as a group. Now, if you decide to do that, don't mandate that everyone join at one particular time only. Offer multiple sessions because they want us to make it as convenient as possible for the students. So do offer, a few different sessions as far as options for participation. But you don't have to keep it just for one class. Let's say you have 2 classes in 1001. Well, then you can send the same invite, the same time options to both of those classes. It wouldn't matter if you had them joining from different classes, as long as it's the same level. So be sure to watch part 2 so you can learn how to use this set of tools.